Human Resources, the sixth and final story of the first series of the Eighth Doctor Adventures in Big Finish, i.e. the seventh and eighth episodes of the first series. This particular story was broadcast in two parts on the 11th and 18th of February 2007, and then released across CD and download in July of that same year, and written by Eddie Robson. The Eighth Doctor, voiced once again by Paul McGann, is aboard his TARDIS, which is seemingly unable to go anywhere since his companion, Lucy Miller, voiced by Sheridan Smith, disappeared. He is approached by a Time Lord named Straxus, voiced by Nicholas Grace, who gives the Doctor a teleportation ring, a kind of ring used previously in Genesis of the Daleks, and is told that he needs to retrieve Lucy from wherever she's gone. Now, it appears that before Lucy joined the Doctor in Blood of the Daleks, which I may leave a card for here if I remember exactly when. The scene in Blood of the Daleks, before she joined the Doctor, she had been going for a job interview, and she wakes up apparently having already done the interview before and been hired in the company. The company that she had been applying to was named Hulbert Logistics, and she believed it was just a blue chip firm in Telford, to which she finds herself underneath kind of everyone in the company, including the owner of the company, Todd Hulbert, voiced by Roy Marsden, her kind of direct supervisor, Jerry Cooper, played by Owen Brennan, who's, I wouldn't necessarily say he's an asshole, but he's a bit full of himself. She makes friends with one of her co-workers, Karen Coltrane, voiced by Louise Fullerton, and she is also met by the Headhunter, voiced by Katherine Olsen, the woman who was sent to recruit Lucy for this company. However, Hulbert Logistics isn't quite what they think. For a start, it's not actually in Telford. It's not even on Earth, as they eventually find that this isn't Earth but the planet of Lonsis, and that the company that they work for isn't actually a company. I mean, it looks from the inside just like a normal office block. They work every day just assuming that they are working in an office, but then later on they find out they never actually go home. They seem to just sleep at their desks, presumably, and while they think they go home every day, they actually don't. Some sort of time manipulation thing happens, and they've actually been staying here the entire time. And it turns out the offices aren't actually an office, but more like a giant fighting robot, or a giant walking base, which is kind of cool. And they're up against the Cybermen, which, honestly, I love a Cyberman story, and this one, I actually think it's a pretty good one. I mean, this isn't really the same branch of Cybermen that we've known before, because as the Doctor in the story brings up the planet of Telos, and the Cybermen actually have no idea what Telos is. The Doctor just assumes the Cybermen came from Telos, but this branch of Cybermen say, no, we're not from Telos at all. They originated from the planet Mondas, same as the original Cybermen, but then they set up on Lonsis, mainly because they had been beaten many times and they needed somewhere to regroup. And so the big office building where Lucy thought she had been working is actually a giant base, and then the kind of higher-ups of the company are looking for ways to defeat the Cybermen and are constantly in missions talking about what to do. The Doctor tries getting a job at Lucy's company, kind of higher up in the company, to try and work out what's going on. And from there, it's just once again a battle to defeat the Cybermen, with Lucy and Karen eventually getting themselves fired from their positions for asking too many questions, and meeting up with another man who left the company named Malcolm Glass, voiced by Andy Wisher, who is going to set himself up as a resistance fighter against the Cybermen. Now, I don't want to give too much else away. I probably have already spoiled far too much, but this is a great Cyberman story in Big Finish. Like, with the Cybermen stories I've listened to before in Big Finish, I think Spare Parts is still the best of the best. And I'm still not entirely convinced it's not the best Doctor Who Big Finish story already, but here's the thing, of the other Cyberman Big Finish story that I listened to, that being Sword of Orion, that one I guess I found slightly disappointing, because while I still remember large portions of Spare Parts, I remember very little about Sword of Orion, but Human Resources I feel is a great Cyberman story. I mean, it shows, yes, the Doctor and his companion trying to survive, but at the same time, Cybermen, they feel genuine, and I'll definitely remember the setup. Just an office base inside a giant walking robot or a giant walking base. That's awesome for me. So, yeah. This is one story that I definitely just suggest checking out. I mean, once again, Doctor's great, Lucy is great, she gives them some sharp backtalk. The Headhunter is a very interesting character. Like, I know she appeared in other stories within this particular series of the Eighth Doctor Adventures. I vaguely remember that she popped up in Blood of the Daleks. I mean, I'll have to listen to the others just to make sure of it, but at the same time, the rest of the characters as well are all really interesting. I mean, Jerry, as I said, he's a bit full of himself, and it can be a little bit arsehole-ish, but at the same time, they match you some great comedy with him, such as Lucy and the others locking him in a cupboard and saying, right, listen, we haven't got guns here, so unless you want to be fed over to the Cybermen, you'll shut your mouth, which, yeah, I love. And you can't really fail with Nicholas Briggs voicing the Cybermen. And once again, he does a great job with it. And this was 2007, so he'd already voiced the Cybermen in Series 2. So, yeah. So overall, while I'll admit that Sword of Orion I don't really remember that much of, Human Resources I think is a great Doctor Who Cyberman story. So definitely give it a listen if you haven't already. Will be my next Big Finish story? Well, I'll have to wait and see. Till next time, see ya.